Hello, delicious people. Welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations with my new neighbor, even though I'm moving in a week. But we had a great time on her podcast. Let me tell you all about her and her bio. And we're going to get away to the races and really let you know about relationships and health and how they all play together. So Loree Bischoff is a master life coach and holistic nutritionist. And she's also a former instructor at the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, Arizona's award-winning private holistic healthcare college for their life coach training program. And she's been a student of optimal health and wellness development to include nutrition, physical fitness, mental diet, self-improvement, and spiritual studies for over 35 years. She does not look old enough for that to be as long as she's been doing it, but let's keep reading her bio. She is the author of Common Sense Happiness, 5 principles for people who want to stop whining, bitching, and suffering, which became a 2012 National Indie Excellence Book Award winner in the motivational category. And she's also the author of The Food Print Plan, your blueprint for creating a healthy eating lifestyle on a budget. And We're Talking Shift is her podcast, which she launched in 2018. With the mission of inspiring, coaching, and educating her listeners. And she and her guest experts, including me, share information and guidance to help people up-level all aspects of their lives, understanding the interconnectedness of mind, body, and spirit. Loree has successfully been using a holistic approach to personal development and health coaching with her clients since 2008. And she's helped countless individuals overcome their personal challenges, become healthier mentally, emotionally, and physically, improve their relationships, and lead happier, healthier, more fulfilling lives. And this is where the neighbor part comes in. She blissfully resides with her husband of 37 years. So this is a good conversation because we got 2 divorces going on over here and 37 years going on over there. And their Australian cattle dog, Nikki, in Cody, Wyoming, which apparently, if we both drove at the same time, would be about an hour and a half for both of us.
Yeah.
So, hi.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you. It's good to see you again, and I feel like I need to shorten that up. That was long.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah. So
Oh.
how amazing. We just met on your podcast, like a very short time ago.
A week ago, barely a week ago.
Yeah, exactly. And now you're here, which is kind of cool to be able to get to know each other's expertise and dance together. So when I return, I'm going to India. When I get back, certainly to Wyoming, I will call you up in person. But for now, getting to know each other with the listeners, I would love to know, are you a local Wyoming gorgeous gal? How did you meet your man? How did your life unfold and get you here?
Yeah. So we're not original residents of the state, but we have had a home here together since 1998. So I don't know, it's at 20 some years now. But we met in Minneapolis, which is where I was born and raised.
Okay.
And so we met when I was in my early 20s, like 21, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been gone for a long time. We left there a couple years after we met. We got married pretty quick, and our it was fast and furious and amazing. But then we left there and we moved to Atlanta for a while. We built our home in Wyoming, and then we moved to Arizona, and we kind of did the snowbird thing. And a few years ago, about 4 years ago, we decided we were kind of tired of bouncing back and forth every 6 months. Yeah. So then we decided to just hunker down here and have one place to deal with. And of course, now we're back to, ready to do the snowbird thing again, but this time in Florida, because one of our kids lives there. So our son and his wife just have, they brought their first son. We have a grandson is here. Oh. And so we want to be able to be there now too.
Oh, so my goodness.
I see a little, I see some shaking up.
It's a MILF, but if you're a grandma, it's a GILF. So you're one
I have not heard those I have not heard those phrases for a long time, but I guess so.
There you go. Wow. So how many children did you have with your 37-year marriage?
Yeah, just two. So our son is married and lives in Florida,
Yep.
and then our daughter lives in California.
Oh, nice.
Opposite ends of the country, go figure.
Well, there you go. You got warm in both directions, though. So
yes.
That's good.
Yeah, it works. We don't complain.
So we were talking on your podcast, Loree, about all the lessons I've learned in the different relationships, and you've learned all your lessons in a relationship. And we were encouraging the listeners not to judge themselves if they didn't do it the American way is like one job, stay forever, one marriage, stay forever. Like if it didn't work out that way for you, it's okay. And you can learn and grow no matter what. So I'm really curious, what was one of the initial things that was totally annoying about your husband, which then turned out to be the greatest gift because it taught you something about you?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So I think one of the first things that comes to mind would be, so he has a very strong energy.
Okay.
Powerful. He's one of those people that you kind of feel the energy before you see him enter the room oftentimes. And my dad had a strong energy too. Well, that strong energy when you're a little girl growing up is intimidating, right? It's it's scary. And so when you come into a relationship with somebody that's like that and you haven't had the experience of how to kind of meet that energy, you have a tendency to kind of retreat, right? And so I was able to learn through that okay, retreating's not good. It's not good for me, and it's not good to communicate, right? And so that was a big learning curve for me, and a big process was not being afraid of that energy, but just because it's nothing to be afraid of. It's just learned behavior. It's just, that's how it was growing up, the grandfather and the father, and I didn't have brothers, so it was just me and my sister, but those two male figures that I was around were powerful and kind of intimidating and scary for a little girl. And I wasn't really told by my mom or my grandmother, like, oh, don't be afraid of that. You just speak your mind. You just, whatever. So it was a learning curve to be able to understand how to navigate that. And that was good for me because it made me have to, it helped me find my voice and develop a lot of confidence. And it made us better because now I was a better communicator.
Totally. Yeah. Wonderful. How about you for him? What did you do that annoyed him that now he's like, look at me, I'm a better man because of that? I grew.
Oh yeah. So, well, I think, I don't know if you would call this annoying, but he was a very impatient person.
Okay.
And I'm like the Rock of Gibraltar. My patience is almost a bottomless, well.
Wow.
So that's one thing that he has told me more than once, that he has really learned how to manage his emotions and also manage his patience, which is, they're kind of intertwined, obviously. Sure. But managing his emotions, because I was pretty much always really good and always been practicing, trying to become a master of my emotions, right? Because, when you're in control of that, things are just better, right? You feel in control of your life. And you're not, people can't push your buttons. But when you wear your emotions on your sleeve and you're impatient or you're triggered easily, your buttons are pushed easily, you are not in control, and your emotions are just all over the map. So that's something that he's definitely told me that he has really learned from me as well, is managing that and managing patience. And so that's been really good.
Tell us how you as a woman inspired his growth in patience without judging him, emasculating him, rolling your eyes, like any of the things that it's probably, if you got triggered, you're probably like scared. You're back in your trigger of that big energy of the dad or the grandpa. Like, how did you evolve and how did he evolve so you could literally be up under each other rather than judging and emasculating.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a process, not gonna lie. When you're young and you're learning yourself how to be, how to be the best human being you can be, you're making all of those mistakes. I did my fair share of eye rolling and judging and, oh my God, if he should stop doing this or start doing that. I mean, we do that, right? Yeah. And that would be a lie to say, oh no, I never did that. That's bullshit. So I had to learn how to me, a lot of this was demonstrating what just being solid in what I felt worked well for me, because people will see, even if they're not consciously aware, they're picking up from you, but they are. So that's impactful. And the other thing I learned is you have to allow your person, your partner, your mate, whatever, to grow at their pace. And if you have, constructive criticism or things that are really, really like an issue, I think that, it really takes an effort to learn when is the timing to discuss this, and how is the right way to bring this up so that the other person doesn't feel like you're judging them and criticizing them. And we all have our own way of processing stuff. And so, for me, and I think for maybe a lot of women, I don't know, but for me, if there's something that comes up, if there's a speed bump, I like to just, let's sort it out right now. Some people are not there. They can't do it right now. They have to take some time and then come back when they're ready. And then you sort it out. So that's something that I've learned as well. You know what? I'm a really patient person, so I can wait. I can wait. And he's the kind of person that needs to go and let his emotions kind of simmer down and then, collect himself and think about it from all perspectives, and then come back and he can have a more reasonable, calm, kind conversation. So I think respecting the other person's process is really important.
That's really beautiful. And so if we were to get really nuts and bolts about it, first you have an allowance, which is so beautiful. I just interviewed Kimberly and Foster Gamble the other day, and they made an agreement when they first got together that they were going to be in allowance of each other, even if they never changed. So whenever they bring up something, they sort of sandwich it by saying, I'm not going to say it exactly like they said it, but the idea is, I love you no matter what, even if you never change. They process their own anger first. So whenever they come to each other, it's what's underneath the anger, sadness or fear. I get afraid when, or I'm sad when. Please just sit with that. It would make me really happy if that could change. And ultimately, it's up to you. I love you no matter what. I'm not going anywhere. This kind of sandwiching of it. And I was just like, wow, that's beautiful. Because I have not made decisions where when I discovered a behavior that was a deal breaker and didn't work for me, I wasn't okay. I wasn't in allowance. This did have to change, and we're going to work on it. We're going to get to the other side, because this is really unworkable. So I believe it came across as judgment. Like the way they are is not okay. I wasn't in allowance. I was in judgment, and maybe I ought to have just left earlier, but I didn't want to give up. So I was kind of in this place. So within the context of your marriage, this allowance to grow at their own pace is beautiful. The letting them sort it out, if it takes longer, even though you want to sort it out right now, this is beautiful. But how did you what came out of your mouth when triggered that they're not in control or they're impatient or whatever? What did you just say? Nothing for a couple of days till they calm down? Or did you say, hey, I'd like to talk about this. Tell me when you're ready? What did you say?
Yeah. So, I would say nothing. I would say nothing for, it's rare that we've had anything that's ever caused us to not be able to, come back to center for a couple of days. I mean, we've never had one of those big, blowouts where it's like, it was right on the edge and weeks went by or whatever. That's never happened. So I think just Nothing, because I know him so well. We've been
Yeah.
together a long time.
Yeah.
So I know that he's going to go, my energy communicates, I'm done with you. You're
Yeah.
done with me. Let's go to our corners. And
Yes.
then, you know, I'm going to be ready when you are, which he knows. So
Right.
then he'll just, when he's ready, he'll come
Yeah.
to me and say, okay. And then we have our chat.
Nice. Nice. And I'm imagining the patience that you're cultivating during all of that is your own spiritual practice and a beautiful gift to him. It's not easy to wait till he comes back. Yeah. Tell us.
Yeah. So definitely, I'm glad you said that, because the spiritual part is really the foundation.
Yeah.
It really is. And that my own spiritual growth, my own spiritual studies has really been the key to my being able to see the dynamics of what's going on from a higher perspective.
Yeah.
And be okay that it may take a minute, it may take a couple of hours, but this is all okay, and everything's going to be okay. And how it's going to unfold will be perfect. And I think that for me, and that's the other thing for me, if it's something to do with, maybe I feel like, I probably shouldn't have said that way, or, you know, maybe I feel like I'm responsible for some of that.
Okay.
Then I have no problem saying, and I want to say as soon as possible.
Yes. Clean it up.
Clean it up. Yeah. That was, you know what? That didn't come out the way I wanted to, you know, apologize,
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. You know, cause it happens, it's easy for that stuff to happen. But I think though that the spiritual part of that, going, how can I be the best human being that I'm trying to be? How can I show up that way and just, have faith, and allow him to be, in his own process.
Yes.
And just know that we'll make it all good again. And it always works that way, because, he's coming from his own version of his spiritual place too. It's different than mine. His practice is different than mine, but it's his, and that works for him, and it's working for us.
Nice. I really, really love this, Loree. And so when he literally comes back, I'm imagining you're like, well, that took you long enough. Like, clearly you're not going to say that, right? Like, okay. Or like, yeah, I knew that. Or like, you have to like have processed all that as well. So what does he literally say? And what do you literally say? So it's actually safe for him to come back.
So I think that it's really important not to make the other person wrong.
Yeah. Because
even though their feelings may have been like, a little off target or over dramatic or something, it doesn't mean that they're wrong. And you don't want to invalidate and minimize another person's feelings. It's not a matter of, if you agree with them or if they're right or wrong. It's not about that. It's just, that's what they are. So, I think, what I've learned to do is always own what I feel is my part. Always take the high road. Always say, how can we make sure that we don't allow this to happen again, or that, we can approach this different, or I realize that that's not, the way that you are going to receive anything good from me. So I'm going to try to do this a different approach, or how can we, you know what I mean? You're just being respectful and being kind.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that you become a doormat and that you take all responsibility for everything. No, that's not what I'm right. Yeah. But at least your own, and you're putting a foot forward saying, how do we come together again? And if your other person has some things for you that are hard to say, like, oh, maybe I didn't realize I was kind of being a bitch. I didn't realize I shouldn't have said that like that. That was wrong. You know what I mean? You better be ready if you're going to be able to share your honest version of what you think is going on, you need to be able to receive that too. Yeah. And receive it with grace. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Receive constructive criticism with grace. Back to the being respectful. You know me, you interviewed me, so we talk about intimacy, the inside creating the outside.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on, like, if at the core of both of you didn't do enough inner work to respect yourself, forgive yourself, come to terms that we're all perfectly imperfect? I find it very difficult to give that respect to another if what's happened, you're beating yourself up so bad and you're so ashamed. It's very difficult to then own it, open up, let it go, and move forward if you're continuing to disrespect yourself, I guess we could say, not forgive yourself.
Yeah,
So
totally.
what have you done in that department to be able to give that which you have inside, self-respect, to each other with respect?
Well, I'm glad you said that, because forgiveness is such a huge key for relationships. It's a fundamental thing that you have to be able to do. You have to be able to forgive your partner, even if it means you're not going to stay together. But forgiveness is still key, so that you don't go on, being bitter, into the end of days. But yes, and then forgiving yourself if you've, messed up or whatever. And so as far as it's kind of shows up a little bit different with each situation, right? And I think for me, that was easier earlier on. Again, because of my spiritual practice, I've learned that forgiving yourself for things where you feel like you fell short or behaved in error or whatever. Because if you don't have enough self-respect and forgiveness, right, for yourself, toward yourself, you're not too good at doling it out either to other people. So you do have to do that. But doesn't come without learning your lesson. If you've fucked up and you have something to forgive yourself for, you don't just go, well, I screwed up, I forgive myself, and go tripping on down the lane. You have to figure out, why did you do that? Are you going to do that again? How are you going to correct that behavior? You got to learn the lesson. Right. And then you forgive, and then you walk away from it. And I think his process was, that took, I think, a lot longer for him. I think he tends to, hold himself accountable for things much longer and deeper than he needs to.
Why do you think that is? Is that a male thing, you think, or is it just him? What do you think about that? People that have difficulty forgiving themselves?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I imagine it's different for everyone. I think it probably depends on what they've decided their crime has been. If it's, I guess it maybe is a matter of how well defined, well-rounded their sense of self-worth is. I think that probably has something to do with it, but a lot of that stuff has been developed since, childhood. So so it can take a while to be able to sort that out and shed those old beliefs. And sometimes you don't even know what they are. They're subconscious. So, as they slowly come to the surface, throughout your life, you talk about them and which we have. And I think that, there's certain things that he's getting more comfortable with not beating himself up about. But I think we all still have, we have them all to some degree. But I think as long as you're aware of it and you're working on it and you're trying and you're aware that you're not letting it affect your relationships, it's your inner work. That's important.
Thank you. It's a really big curiosity point for me, what it really takes to forgive and not do that spiritual bypass you just said, but to really go to the depth and really take full ownership and responsibility without the self-judgment and with the forgiveness, and still grow. It's a really rich practice. So I love what you're sharing there too. What would you say to people who okay, something went down, I'm going to take ownership, I'm not going to say anything, but he or she doesn't return, doesn't clean it up, doesn't have taken their time on their own to do their work, and they just think, oh, well, he or she's just not going to say anything. then what do you have any clients where this has happened to them, where the person doesn't come and clean it up, or just says sorry, but you can tell they actually aren't because they do it again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great topic, which is really learning the proper way to apologize. And I actually had someone, and her name escapes me off the top of my head, someone on, I think it was probably 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And we talked about, she co-wrote the book, The 5 Love Languages with Gary, you know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
And they then wrote the 5 apology languages together.
Oh, curious.
Super interesting. And that is one of that there's like generally 5 ways that people tend to apologize. And I'm not going to remember them off the top of my head, but yeah, the core idea is obviously that you apologize to the person that you need to apologize to in the way that they need to receive it, just like the love languages. What is their language, right? There's a language. So right. So maybe depending on what the person in the situation is, I'm really sorry I did that will suffice. Maybe it was something not that serious, but maybe something it's more serious. I'm really sorry I did that. It won't happen again.
Right.
Or maybe you go to I'm really sorry I did that. I don't want to let that happen again. And I'm really going to work on my responses and my behavior. So there's languages that we can use with each other. And it's important to learn what is it that makes your spouse feel like you mean it, like you're sincere.
Yes.
Are they somebody that is good with? Do they take you at your word? I'm really sorry. Or do they need more? Do you need to give them something else to make them feel like you're sincere and you really mean it? And
and the actions,
and you care about it
as well. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's very interesting. That would be a really cool person for you to talk to on your show too.
I wrote it down. Don't you worry. I didn't know there was a book about the 5 apology. I knew the love languages, but not the apology. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, because I'm like touch is my number 1 love language. But I don't want you to touch me at all until you apologize. Like, it's the opposite for me. Like,
right.
Yeah. Stay away because I don't feel safe right now. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Really interesting.
This is going to be good. So your man comes back. He owns it. He apologizes in a way that works for you. He changes his behavior. Your respect grows. Your trust grows and life goes on. What do you say to your clients if they don't come back or they say, I'm sorry, but the action doesn't change? I mean, we don't want to just want to go, well, fine, I'm out of here. But we would like to have a communication about it. But like, this is an issue, but not again to emasculate. Is that when you would recommend hiring somebody like you or me, or what do you tell your clients to do in the relationship?
Yeah. So I think that, sometimes frequently when they haven't been able to figure it out within the relationship, it's really helpful if you can say, perhaps you would consider, working with somebody to help you figure this out. Because if you really want the relationship to thrive and grow and, blossom and flourish, then there's some things that you need to get a hold of. And it seems like what you've been doing isn't really working. So whether it's me or somebody else, I just want you guys to be happy. So why don't you get after it? I mean, please. So, I mean, I don't have any problem suggesting to somebody that they get after their work.
Yeah.
That's just part of being a responsible human being.
Yeah. I love that. Get after it. Get after it. That's so good. And have you ever said to your husband, or has he ever said to you, love you, but you need to get after that? Like, does that ever come up in your 37 years?
Let's see. Not like that. I will have to say, not like that. Because again, I think you really need to learn to read your audience. I think that you need to learn, It's not
going to go over well with your man.
That's not going to go over well. It's like, we laugh about this. I mean, it was just like literally just days ago, my husband, I can't even remember the context, what the conversation was or something, but he's like, oh no, you're so good telling me things without actually telling me, or saying I should do something or have a different approach without actually saying it and hitting me between the eyes with it. So
how do you do it, Loree? How do you say it?
I mean, it's kind of like, for example, let's just take something that's like impersonal, like the garbage is overflowing and I'm really busy cooking, so I don't want to stop in the middle of it and take it out. So instead of looking over at your partner and go, could you take out the damn garbage? You don't do that. You say something like one of two things. Wow, that garbage is overflowing and it really smells. Or the direct approach that is nice is like, love of my life, would you please do me a solid and get rid of this?
Yeah.
Happy to. But nobody likes to be barked an order at.
No. Yeah. That's beautiful.
But kindness and grace, humor, those things usually work.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. So beautiful. Are you the main cook or is he the main cook, or do you both cook?
Well, we both do, but I'm the main. If it's something to do with outside, like grill, I don't want no part of it. So that's his area, and he loves that. Yeah. And then we'll do, like, on a weekend, once in a while, every weekend or every other weekend, we'll do something like, what are we going to make together? And then we'll do something that we can each do together, like a big pot of chili or something.
Sure. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. There's a lot of togetherness going on with the cooking.
That's beautiful. What has he awakened in you that you didn't know was in there? What has he sparked?
I would say a sense of courage. A sense of thinking so much bigger than I was brought up to think.
Wow, nice.
I was fortunate to have a mother that really instilled a lot of positive thinking. My mom, in the 70s was like, she was so far ahead of her time. So she was giving me spiritual books to read and affirmations and, vision board stuff and all that in the 70s.
Wow.
Decades before it was the trendy thing to do. Yeah. So I had a lot of that great foundation, but thinking like bigger and kind of beyond the fishbowl that you've been come up in. That was new. So that's been really, really big for me, and just very encouraging. Like, why not? That was the question. Well, if anything would come up, like, should I do this? Can we do that? Why not? Let's think of the reasons why we couldn't, and let's think of how you can. And those things were really kind of new for me. So yeah.
It sparked the courage, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
I love this. And what would you say you've awakened in him that he didn't know was in there?
That he didn't know was in there. Let's see. I think a stronger sense of family unity and teamwork in that sense. Yeah. Because our family dynamics were very different. Yeah. So there was. I think that was just interesting for him to have a different sense of a family dynamic in a very positive way. Nice. So I would say that. I would say having someone's constant, unending support, having someone be your biggest fan. Wow. That, I think, was something not experienced, and that's something that we have really cultivated in our relationship. It's something that it's one of my biggest tips that I always share with couples that I'm working with, is you have to be your partner's biggest fan. There has to be massive fanship going on there.
That's so beautiful. Massive fanship.
Yeah.
That's really stunning. As you think, first meeting him, what did you say? You were like in your early 20s, right? Yeah. And so now, 3.5 decades later, is he just as hot? Is the sex obviously different, but richer, different? How has your sacred, sexual, sensual, I don't know, for yourself as well, as a woman, as a goddess, and him, and when I was interviewing Foster and Kimberly the other day, they were like, she's like, there's so much more tenderness and trust that the sex is just, it gets better after they've been together 2 decades. So what would you share with listeners about the journey and
yeah. So first of all, I think that, and like you said, I mean, I was 21 when we got together, and I am now 60. So
you're hot. Yes.
Thank you. And he's 6 years older than I am.
Okay.
So we've been through all kinds of wonderful seasons of that.
Yeah.
All good, by the way. But yeah, of course, they do have a tendency to change as the seasons.
Yeah, kids. Yeah, it totally changes. Yeah.
Right. But I will say that I think that the intimacy part is so important to hang on to, whatever that looks like for you. It may be just more affection and less sex, or it may be just as much sex. It may be, I don't know, everyone is different, but I think that it's really easy for people to lose that and to lose focus on it, which is another thing that's so important, is focus. And if you don't want to start feeling like roommates and business partners, strictly roommates and strictly business partners and strictly just the parents of so-and-so, then you do yourself a disservice if you don't put some focus and emphasis on that aspect of your life. And we've always been able to do that. We've always been able to maintain that because we're crazy about each other. We are, you know what I mean? It just keeps growing and getting richer, and it changes form a little bit. But I still think that, this is the love of my life. And I still think that he's amazingly handsome and sexy, and he is a generous lover, and we have a wonderful relationship in that sense. And it may not be, 3 times a day like it was when you're 21. It's still there.
Yeah. Oh, that's really beautiful. That's really beautiful, because that you still turn each other on, and that you still the love of your life. Like, you can feel the energy and the authenticity of that. And you can feel the richness of the intimacy and respect over time, and how he's awakened you and you've awakened him. And yet that core connection is still there. So that's a beautiful
connection. And I think that feeling like, it's not always going to be this, Kama Sutra, long, tender, let's do lotions and potions. That's not my cup of tea, honestly. And it's not his. I think if it's yours, that's awesome. Go for it. But sometimes it's just, dude, I need you. Girl, I want, you know what I mean? Let's have some fun. And then, all right, I'm, off with you. I've got business to do, and everybody's good with it. So I think having a sense of humor and a sense of playfulness and a sense of what's working for us in the moment is super cool. And that's what works for us. But you got to find what works for you, but find something. Don't just evaporate.
Yeah. I love it. And so when you said the focus and the emphasis on this, clearly you've got the attractions. You don't have to work on that. But what do you do? Like, do you literally have a structure of date night? Do you literally have a structure of like, we don't go to bed unless we hug, or I don't start my day unless I give him a 10-second hug, or like, what does the actual structure look like?
Yeah. So as far as just that, being physically close, every night before bed, there's absolutely a nice long hug. For sure. Yeah. Every morning, my husband brings me coffee in bed. He's always up before me. And so he brings me coffee. I get a nice hug. I get some whiskers on my neck, which I love. And, a kiss good morning, and we start our day. And our date night, which we did throughout our entire, younger years. You have to have a date night when you have kids, because otherwise you don't get one. Once your kids are away, you can have date night every freaking night. So you don't really need to designate a date night anymore, right? So our more personal dates are on a weekend morning now instead of a Friday night date night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, when your kids have been gone, you just like every day is a date day or a date night if you want it to be. You get to have that luxury, right?
Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful because a lot of people that I'm working with, once the kids are gone, they're like, who are you? Why are we in this? You know, they've done the roommate thing and not had the focus or emphasis or priorities throughout the, 2 decades of when the kids are growing up.
Yeah.
So
They lost focus. They lost focus on wearing their boyfriend, girlfriend hats. They put on the parent hat, they put on the work hat, and they forgot to put on their I'm your boyfriend, I'm your girlfriend, I'm your lover hat.
Correct.
And kind of hard, it's awkward for people to try to get that back once it's been gone for too long.
Yes, it is. Because there's often a lot of resentment along with that as well. And it looks easier to, I'll just trade in for a new model, right?
It happens.
Yeah.
It does happen, and, maybe for sometimes that's a good thing for people. I don't know, but I think that there's a lot of value that is too easily let go in a relationship because you didn't stay on point.
Yeah. Yeah. I always believe that cleaning up our messes, learning the lessons, apologizing, becoming our best self first. Let's see, then is our sacred contract still over?
Right.
Because if you don't do that work, you're going to bring all that crap into the next relationship anyways.
Yes.
So do the work regardless.
Right.
And then you can bless and release each other if it indeed is done, or there's a second honeymoon or a second phase. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, not everybody is meant to be a lifetime assignment. You're just not. Sometimes it's just, it is what it is. And you take the best, like you said earlier, and discard the rest. And, and you learn your stuff so that, you can be the next best version of yourself for that next person.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Beautiful. Well, clearly when we do drive and meet each other for coffee, it's going to be a 3-hour coffee because I'm having so much fun, but I want to honor your time. But I don't want to stop before we tie in health because you do not look 60 whatsoever. And you have a lot of success in your relationship and in your business. And I want us to tie in how has health, physical well-being, nourished your beauty, your success, your capacities.
Yeah. So I feel like, well, first of all, literally health is my religion. I mean, it just is. I just think that optimal health helps you realize your wholeness as a person. And that's spiritual, right?
Yeah.
Health is it's wholeness, it's energy, and energy is spiritual.
Yes.
Right. And so the health of a relationship, I think, is it's really built and then sustained by the health of each partner. Yes. So when I say health, I'm not just talking about, do you weigh what you're supposed to weigh? I'm talking about, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your physical health.
Totally.
All of those pillars affect the other ones. Yes. So to me, it's important to really be focusing on how do I optimize my health in all of those areas so that I am, tripping along as optimally as I possibly can. And how, and sharing that with my partner. How do I help you be the healthiest person that you can be so that you can, thrive in our relationship and in everything else you're doing.
Yes.
Right. So I feel like, you may not have come together with those things in the front of your mind, but if it's important to you to have a relationship that has, that goes the distance or is just really good, however long it goes.
Yes.
I think that that's just really important because also, when you're focusing on your own health and well-being in all of those areas, you are demonstrating love for yourself. You are demonstrating self-respect because you're respecting, your body and your mind and so when you can do that for yourself, naturally you kind of want to, as a loving, healthy person, spread that all over your partner too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if they're open to it, sometimes they're not, but if they are, and then everybody is, feeling powerful and healthy in so many ways that it just really, I think, helps the relationship expand and evolve into something really beautiful.
Beautiful. And because I interviewed someone who does a bunch of face stuff. I'm like, okay, so I just sort of do my thing. So tell me what I need to do. And other people I've talked to, like, oh, well, we do stem cells like 2 or 3 times a year. Like, do you have just like girlfriend to girlfriend, like something you're like, well, thank God I did this because I look like this at 60? Or do you think it really is spiritual, mental, eating well, exercise, all of these areas?
Well, I think all of those things absolutely play a role. I mean, if you have, a shitty diet and you smoke and you drink like, a fucking sailor on leave, it's going to show in your face. It just is.
Yes.
So for sure, eating well and not smoking, and I'm all about having some cocktails or some wine now and then, but I don't drink, put away a quart of vodka a day or 2 bottles of wine. I mean, so use your head, but beyond just those things that seem to me like common sense, because I want to, well, like you, I grew up in the modeling industry. So beauty was always just sort of part of what you're focused on when you're in that industry. But then now, of course, cut to as you get older, all of those things are still good and they help. But I am not at all against, even though I'm a holistic health coach, but I'm not against, I think that there are great things out there that I don't think are harmful, that if you have the resources and you want to go and do a little bit of whatever, I haven't done any of the stem cell stuff, but I think it's really interesting. And I would certainly be open to considering something like that, or if you want to do, a little bit of Botox so you don't look like, you're half asleep all day. I mean, whatever. I wouldn't go Nancy Pelosi style. I mean, that woman's like eyebrows are up here. Wow. Just watch next time you see her and you're going to laugh, because I think, you got to be really careful. I'm not about trying to have that, that look that you've just like stopped at the Barbie factory and you're frozen in time like that. Not for me. It's not for me. I like to look as good as I can look because I enjoy that. But I don't want to, I don't want to go, I'm not that, my ego doesn't go that far where I need to feel like I have to do that or want to do that. I'm good with just, let me just do the best I can. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. You're a hot GILF. That's what you are.
We got to be honest. We know the lights don't hurt. The lights don't hurt.
It's so true. It's so funny. I was in, we got the dentist done. I got the Botox done. I got the teeth cleaned. I did the work. Yeah. So I hear you.
Nothing wrong with that.
I agree. I totally agree. And I like the vitality from my heart and from doing the work and the youthfulness that my energy has. And I like the wisdom. I mean, I don't like the angry line right here, but I don't mind the wrinkles because they're smile lines. To me, they show the joy of how I interact with life. Yes,
I feel like that too. This stuff going on here, I'm like, oh, okay, I don't need that. The furrowed
I don't
brow.
Need the angry
right. But this just, I think that's beautiful. So I'm okay with that.
Same.
Totally.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Now this is another story. I don't know what's going to happen with this, but. I'm real open when it comes to that. So we'll see. We'll see how things.
All right,
go.
we'll see what we figure out. There's the cheaper stem cell therapy in Mexico. So maybe when I'm back from India, we'll go down to Mexico for the week, and we'll come back all.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. Let's do it.
Yes. So I want people to know, and all of this will be in the show notes, of course. But Loree Bischoff, Loree, and then it's Bischoff, BISCHOFF. .com is how you find out more about her. We didn't even talk about your book. much, but please tell, is there anything you want to say about that? Because I think that's a great place for people to start to get to know you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, and it's on the website. It's Common Sense Happiness.
Yeah.
I did write it like 10 years ago now. But as you said, it's 5 principles for people who want to stop whining, bitching, and suffering. So if you are honest enough with yourself and realize that you're a whiner and a bitcher and you're suffering because of it, it's kind of like a really nice beginner's book for people that are just sort of stepping into the realm of personal development.
Nice.
So it's a short read, it's quick, it's easy, it's something that you can do to just start thinking about things in a different way that are going to help you suffer less and just find a little bit more peace and happiness in your life. It's not that hard.
Yeah,
it really isn't. And it really isn't complicated.
Yeah. So, I like this. The chapter, I can't remember if Romance Your Life.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you what you meant by that. Cause like I'm teaching right now my Alana Pratt method coaching to my coaches. And one of my chapters is making love with the universe. And I thought, ooh, is romancing your life the same as making love with the universe? So tell us a little bit about that. And then we will wrap up this delicious conversation.
Yeah. So I was thinking when I wrote this, my thoughts back then, and that's again 11 years ago, but it was really it was about falling in love with yourself. Because that's where your life begins. It's in here, right?
Yes.
And it's about how would you treat your life if you were dating it? Like if you're going out on a first date with somebody, right? You are knocking yourself out usually, right? To look your best, to show up your best, to be at your best. You want to show all of the best. And it's funny how we don't just do that for ourselves, like show up as our best just for us, just for me. You know what I mean? So I think how would you treat your life like you were dating? Your life that you had a lot of respect for, what would that look like? How would you show up for that? And that's how you should treat your life. That's I think it's sexy, and I think it's it's really keeping your eye on what's really, really important. You've got this gift, this wonderful gift to be walking the planet for however many years, or you get to do it. So I just think that, treating yourself right. A lot of people treat their pets, their cars, their houses, and their gardens far better than they treat themselves.
Yeah. I so agree. Well, that's why I call myself an intimacy expert. Like it's about this intimate relationship with ourselves, falling madly in love with ourselves. I'm in total agreement with you. Wow.
Yeah. So, if you have if you spend hours every day on your garden, God bless you. I think that's awesome. And it's perfect. And your dog gets the best dog food and has its own room and, has groomers and painted nails and all, all the bells and whistles, and your house, is spotless and gets a makeover every 5 years. But you have done, almost no work on yourself.
Yeah.
That's not romancing your life. That's ignoring it.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. That's impoverishment of your soul. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I so agree.
Yeah. So I think that, that's really where the magic begins.
We're so the same. I love this. So Common Sense Happiness, you can find that at our site, loreebischoff.com. And I have so many notes here. Why not? And be your partner's biggest fan. And I want to call that 5 apologies person and get them on the podcast. So thanks for that insight as well. And I just love it. Get after it. Get after it.
That's right. Get after it. What are you waiting for?
Yes. Oh, well, I'm delighted to know you. I'm so glad we've met. I feel like this is the beginning of a lot. I'm sorry I'm leaving in 2 weeks, but I shall return and we will reconnect, and of course there's always Zoom. So your last message from your heart to the listeners would be?
Well, I think my last message, I'm going to wrap it up with, get greedy about romancing your life. You get greedy about optimizing your health and well-being. I think you should get really greedy about it, because that's a good greed.
Yes.
Those are good things to focus on.
Yes.
And you know what, that I think that just, there's a lot of discontent and a lot of suffering and a lot of angst going on.
Yeah.
And I think if we could all, just stop putting so much of our focus out there on all that stuff and bring it back to those things.
Yeah.
That's how things change. It's not out there. It's with everybody changing in here first.
Oh my God. Yes. 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 Fist bump. Graciously greedy, sacredly greedy, whatever word you need to put with it to give yourself permission to just come from the overflow from the inside out and watch how life shifts. Yeah. I so agree. Thank you so much. I want you listeners, there were so many golden nuggets in this. It was crazy. So right when this is over, take a moment, write down, what was it that really spoke to you? What was it that really touched you or moved you? And do something about it. Take an action. Allow this conversation to be inspirational, but allow that reflection to turn into action, because one different action literally is going to change the trajectory of your life. So thank you for taking the time to be with us. Get after it with your greed and all the other deliciousness you learned from today, and know that we showed up for you because we love you, and we thank you for the privilege and honor of being with you for the last hour. All right. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Until next time on Intimate Conversations, all my love.